In this episode of the Project Management Podcast, you will learn how to be an inclusive leader and the steps needed to improve team performance.
Hello and welcome to the Project Management Podcast at pm-podcast.com. I'm Cornelius Fichtner. We are coming to you live from the crowded 2018 PMI Global Conference in Los Angeles. And with me right now, sitting here in the hallways just outside of room 411, is Agatha Czopek. Hello, Agatha.
Hello, Cornelius.
How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, you have just completed the presentation for a second time. How is it for you speaking here at the conference?
It's a great pleasure always. It's always a stressful situation, but the feedback that I get after the speech, it makes me continue.
And it is a great topic because PMI actually made you give it twice, right?
Yeah, I was really surprised by the number of people that showed during the first speech and also the second one. I was, that made a difference.
Yeah, I came in at the tail end. There were about 120, 150 people in the room. Yeah, close to that. Very nice. So in the opening, I said we are coming to you live from the crowded 2018 PMI Global Congress. You chose the word crowded. Why did you choose crowded? Are there too many people for you?
I've realized that I'm a bit, introvert. So the number of people here, I even don't know, it's like a 2,000 or 3,000 for now.
Something like that, yes.
It's really overwhelming. So you feel very small in that crowd. And
I feel you because sometimes there are thousands of people around you and you're just sitting there going, oh my God, I hope nobody speaks to me because, I have the same feeling.
I have another, I want to find a friend.
Yes.
And it's always impossible.
Oh, I know you.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk to me.
Exactly. Or, okay, I'm just having lunch. Please find me. Oh, no, it's impossible.
Yes. All right. So your presentation is titled, The Future Lies in Diversity and Inclusion. Are you an inclusive leader? Why did you choose to speak on that topic?
The topic of diversity and inclusion is close to my heart as being a person that moved to another country, a person that is looking for inclusion myself, and having different experience in different countries. How do you feel when you are from somewhere else that you don't speak the native language here, and how it impacts then the team performance? But on the other side, how big the business case is behind that, having the diverse people in your team.
All right. We want to look at 4 recommended actions that we have for our listener. This is actually at the end of your presentation. When people leave, you give them these 4 recommended actions, and we have decided to just take those 4 and take people through it. So the first recommended action that you have for folks to become inclusive leaders are recognize diversity of thinking. So what is diversity of thinking and how do we use that?
Okay. So whenever you think about your team, you really would like to have the innovation to be higher. You really would like your team to spot the risk quickly. And if you have the diverse team that has the diversity of thinking, you can have 20% more innovation and you can have 30% of risk spotted. And in the beginning, I thought that it's all about diversity, gender diversity, that you have a woman and man in your room. Then later on in my career, I joined the Innovation Lab and I found out that, it gives a bit more if you have people from different countries and different cultures. But recently I've learned that it's not only about this aspect, that it's also about diversity of thinking. So the diversity of thinking is the way that we solve problems. The issue is that if you face a problem, you may look for evidence, or you may look for options, or outcomes, or consider people, or look at the process, or spot the risks. But the truth is that we are not good at all that pieces. Some people are better at spotting outcomes. Some people are better at considering people. So whenever you have a team that has this diversity of thinking, that's when you win.
How do you recognize diversity of thinking in your team?
There are a few tools to check how people think. There is the SDI. Deloitte has its own business chemistry. So you can have some tests behind that and see. But in the most simple way, you can just ask people, how do they feel? And what do they spot? I would say, what do they feel good at? And if you have a problem, if you state it, and if you ask your team members to give some ideas, you can categorize them and see, oh, we all only think about process. Has anyone thought about how people will feel about what we're going to do?
Okay. And would adding more people help? So instead of having a team of 5 people who are brainstorming on something, just make it 20 people. You will automatically have more people thinking about it. So you have diversity.
I would say that in most cases, 80% solves 100% of problems.
Okay.
So I would not go for too much.
All right. So that was your first recommended action, recognize diversity of thinking. The second one is ensure inclusion, not only diversity. So you've already mentioned a little bit what diversity means. What is inclusion and how do we ensure inclusion?
Okay, so a lot of research has been done on diversity itself, and the inclusion part has been, I would say, maybe forgotten for some. And it led to a situation that people started building the diverse teams. I mean, putting people from men and women, from different cultures, from different countries. But in a situation that there was no inclusion, it was just not working. So the latest research says that you need to have this inclusion part. And it means that you need to treat people with fairness and respect. I have a few examples on that. I've recently been to Poland, where a lot of people from Ukraine are now joining the workforce, and they simply paid less. It's so obvious for us that you should pay equally for the same amount of work and the same quality of work, but it's just not happening. The second element of inclusion is feeling valued and belonging, really belonging to a team, really being part of the team. In a simple form, like sitting together, going for lunch together, enjoying, solving problems together, being invited to meetings. Very often it happens that, some meetings happen somewhere and you're just not informed. You don't belong to that group. Would you like to contribute to that? No. At a certain moment you realize that, okay, maybe that's, not my problem. Why should I help if they don't want me to be in? The third element of inclusion is feeling safe and feeling in a position to openly ask the question or openly raise your hand or share what you know and what others don't. If you do not have this ability for people to speak up, they will just not say it anymore. And if they won't say it anymore, some of the risk that might have been taken into consideration won't be taken because no one will listen to that people. And the last element of inclusion is feeling empowered and growing. So giving the same opportunities to grow, to develop, to learn about leadership, to join leadership team, to be promoted, to be also recognized. So that's the inclusion. That's the elements. If we don't have it, the diversity won't help.
What do I do as a project manager if I notice that some people on my team are not included?
We are all responsible for speaking up. I think it's just, starting from simple actions that you can do. Maybe you can speak with someone, maybe address it, slowly, maybe not too forcefully, but saying, I think I would like to have this person in the meeting. I think he or she will bring much to what we do. Providing open communication, sharing information with others, organizing, meetings or even, posting notes from the meetings in a place that everyone can read it. It's not that everyone will read them, but if you give and open that box of information, people will definitely join and they will feel included. They will feel part of the team. The responsibility is in each and every one of us.
Lead by example, basically.
Exactly.
Okay. Right, so those were the first two recommendations. Recognize diversity of thinking was the first one. Ensure inclusion, not only diversity, is the second. And we're moving on to the third. Build inclusive leadership capabilities. All right. What inclusive leadership capabilities are we talking about, and how do we build those?
Yeah, who are the inclusive leaders? So, the inclusive leaders, they are committed to diversity in inclusion case, and it matches their personal values. So there are those people who speak about it, but they also model the way they do it themselves. They believe in a business case. So it's not only about, being nice. It's also recognizing the quality of the work. It's recognizing how much of innovation can it bring. So, and they articulate the commitment bravely. Then they have the courage. They have the courage to speak up. They have the courage to change the status quo. We all know how it is. We all know in a certain business situation, in a certain culture. And it's up to us, to raise the hand and say, I don't agree. I think that, we need more chairs on this table. Then cognizance of bias. Inclusive leaders, they are conscious of their blind spots. And they are doing and ensuring that their way of thinking does not have the bad impact on decision making. So they are the ones who acknowledge the bias and they act to debias the decisions. Inclusive leaders, they are curious. They have an open mindset. They are curious about others, other people, where they come from, why they have different ideas, what's the background, what's the expertise that others have. They are aware of cultural differences, and they can speak differently and almost alter the behavior depending on what culture they work with and who are the team members. And definitely they foster the collaboration. So they empower others, they create conditions for a team cohesion and for this diversity of thinking to flourish.
Mm-hmm. It sounds very much like a state of mind.
I think it is.
Yeah. And what you and I, we're introverts, right? But yet we are here at this conference and we have to pretend to be introverts. And there are certain steps you can take. For our listeners who see, I want to be that way, but I'm not yet there. How do you get there? What do you have to do in order to? Do you read? Do you take courses? How do you get there?
I think you can definitely start with having your own small plan. I mean, if you look at the courage, or if you look at the bias, if you look at the curiosity, you can just ask yourself the question, do I have any biases? And it's not an easy question because it kind of touches you deeply and asking when your brain is making the shortcuts, what's your background? What have you learned through the years of your career that can make you take a decision that is biased? And then what I do recommend is to have a accountability partner. So to speak about it with someone, with your colleague at work, with someone for whom the diversity is also an important topic, and share those ideas and almost, put on the piece of paper, I want to do these 3 actions when I come back home to my work environment. I want to do that. And let's check in a month time whether we made that. Then you have, someone you work with and someone you can exchange your thoughts around.
All right. The final recommendation that we have for you is take middle managers on the journey. Why are the middle managers important on this journey?
Yeah, because this may sound harsh, but in the context of diversity and inclusion, the middle management were under service groups. I mean that there were a lot of trainings already for top management and for leaders. And as I feel, the team members and people at the bottom, they always raising their hand saying, I'm in a situation, I felt excluded from the group. I felt that I had to fight for my compensation. I was not treated equally. But if you don't have this middle management buy-in, you will just fail because there is this gap in between. So please ensure that you not only have those people in trenches, ready, you not only have the top management knowing about diversity and inclusion and having that in the KPIs, but that you transfer it to the middle layer and build the understanding of that topic for that group.
All right, let me recap. The 4 recommended actions are: number 1, recognize diversity of thinking. Number 2, ensure inclusion, not only diversity. Number 3, build inclusive leadership capabilities. And number 4, do take middle managers on the journey. Which one of those 4 is the most important? Is there one that is most important?
For me personally, is the inclusion. Without this inclusion part, whatever you do, whatever beautiful team you set up, it will just won't fly. So really, take your time, think about it, and take this inclusion with you.
Mm-hmm. Now, with all the knowledge that you have based on the presentation and the research that you have done, what would you tell yourself if you could go back in time when you moved country? What is the one piece of advice that you would tell yourself? Agatha, you're going to a new country. Here, you need to know this.
That you're not the only one.
Ah.
You're not the only one in that situation. You're not the only one that feels lost, that feels excluded. It's just how it is. It's just a process. Just go through it and it will improve. And that's how it is. It's definitely getting better, but yeah.
If our listeners are interested in this topic and they would like to continue their journey here in learning, do you have any recommended books or papers or anything that they can go to and learn more about it?
So definitely, we do have research within the Deloitte team about high impact of diversity and inclusion. But there are definitely a lot of books about inclusion nudges, about what works with gender equality by design. So I think the topic is getting a lot of attention and more examples of how you can address the unconscious bias, how you can nudge to change the behavior, how can you improve the processes. That's what appears now in the press and in the publications too.
All right. Thank you very much, Agatha, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure.